really sweet to be back.
So welcome back. Happy to have you. Okay, so, you know, I would love to know. I know, right? Nothing you can't answer, I'm sure. Your acting journey. When did this start for you?
Oh, when I was a little girl.
Yeah, how little?
Like 3?
Really?
3 or 4. And started with dancing and singing and acting. I just loved all of it. And it's funny because my niece now is very much, like my mother's always like, she's just like you. And she's just loves performing. She loves all of that. So yeah, it was kind of just in me. And so then that's what I went to a conservatory program to study acting, and then was working in regional theater for, I guess, the first year after graduating college, and then moved to New York, and this was one of the first jobs I got. Got a backstage, yeah.
So you had an audition for this?
Oh God, I auditioned for this movie like 10 times.
What was that like? And what did they make you do differently each time?
Well, it was an improvised audition. I was doing a lot of improv comedy at the time, and also like improv experimental theater, which was like a whole other thing. Like there's a lot of slow motion involved. And so when it was time to, what did they do? They said to me, you're up for parole, and why should we let you out? And I was like, you shouldn't, because I'll do it again. And they were like, oh, okay, you're the first one to do that. All right, here we go. And like, I just think I was very tenacious, and every time I came back with something new, and I showed up on time, and I was like, I really want this. It was just so exciting, the thought of improvising an entire feature film was just thrilling to me. Like, what a high wire act. And I also never got to go camping as a kid because I grew up in like a working class suburbs family, so we did not do trees. So like for me, I was like, oh wow, I could learn some really cool stuff preparing for this as well. So I was like reading like Bradford Angier's like How to Survive in the Woods. And, like I went with a hunting knife. I was ready to skin a squirrel. I thought shit was gonna get real. Like I thought they were gonna like actually be starving us, and I was gonna be like
Survivor?
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be more Survivor-like, which I think Survivor kind of came after Blair Witch actually.
Yeah, they did.
But I was like, okay, if I have to string a snare to capture a squirrel, you know, a squirrel's whole skin comes off like a jacket. Anybody? No. Tie it around the neck and just go peel. Yeah, it's amazing.
You know, fun fact about me here.
Fun facts.
Fun fact about me is I grew up camping. My folks loved camping. I grew up in Bakersfield, California, so we're a 2-hour drive away from.
Oh, I love the San Jacinto Mountains. I love going to Idlewild.
I think I liked it when I was like a child, but then I became more girly, and I didn't want to get dirty. And also, I've seen scary movies, even before Blair Witch, because Blair Witch came out when I was like 15.
Wow.
So I had been watching horror movies for like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years before that. But I've seen Friday the 13th. I know what happens when you go into the woods. Bad things happen when you go into the woods.
Well, that's just a fear of the feminine, isn't it? Deep in our cultures, a fear of the feminine and that deep, dark, natural chaos.
And my folks now moved. I moved to Chicago. They moved to the middle of nowhere in Idaho.
My friend just got fired from a wildlife rehabilitation job in the middle of nowhere, Idaho.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's probably for the best.
Sometimes it is really.
Your parents don't live in the fall, do they?
No. So anyway, but yeah, so they love that lifestyle. I realize I don't like trees, unlike you. I do not like trees or bugs or dirt.
All right.
But Blair Witch was great for that.
So then you probably have a lot of anxiety?
Not. I have a great fear.
There is a connection.
It's horror related, I'm sure. I've always had a fear of getting lost. Even in a city with a map, and now we have a phone, we have GPS on our phone, I'm still like, where am I? And I live in Chicago, right? And once, this is my last personal story, and then we'll move back to our guest of honor. I worked at Starbucks, and I was going to work at 2:30 in the morning on the train. I fell asleep, of course, because it's 2:30. So I always took my nappy nap, and I always set my alarm, and I overslept my alarm. And I overslept my place like 2 stops, right? And I got off the train, and I had this like, if I don't know where I am, and it's still dark outside, and I go up, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know where I'm at. Which way do I go? Like, I've lived here for years. And I was just like, okay. Look up and find the Sears Tower.
Or the sun.
Well, it was dark. It was dark. it was 4 o'clock in the morning in the winter, so it was dark. And I'm like, it was also pretty cold. And I really didn't want to walk this, but here we go. And I'm like, okay, look up, Sears Tower, that way. That's the way I gotta go. But I had this fear of getting lost, for sure. Even in a city where I know my way around. It's crazy, right? So that's where my anxiety lies.
Well, I mean, sometimes getting lost is just the first step to a new adventure.
Yeah.
Like strangers to the friend you haven't met yet.
I would also really prefer not to get eaten alive by a whale. That'd be great.
Very, very happy.
Well, now my dad sees a lot of them, like face to face. He's like,
yeah.
But they don't leave them alone. They pretty much leave
When
them
my
alone.
raspberries are ripe on my property, I get bears.
Yeah.
And I just, they eat the raspberries and we're all good.
He sees a lot of mountain lions.
I'm not as big a fan of them.
No, they're a little scary, but that's my family history on the wilderness. And if you guys listen to my podcast, you know I'm like, no, not going out there. Don't do road trips. There's bad things happen. There's in movies. Okay, so when you were filming, what was the most challenging part about it? The whole process.
There was one day when we had a lot of rain, and so we left, and then we tried to contact the directors, and they didn't get back to us because they were at Chili's. And so we were just like, okay, you know what, that's enough. And we walked out of the woods and went up to these people, this house that was lit. And mind you, it's like on the brink of a park. It's like actually quite a small, it's Seneca Creek State Park in Maryland. And so the guys were like, well, obviously you're the one that's gonna have to knock on the door to me, because like drenched like a rat dudes, like nobody's gonna open the door for them. Like we have our best shot if you knock on the door. So I knocked on the door, and then they ended up calling Dan and Ed, who after their fried ice cream, they were like, I guess we'll swing by and pick them up. And they put us in a Red Roof Inn for the night, and then the next day we were sent back out, but we were still not fed that night. So they just kind of put us on pause, but it was very nice to come out of the woods, because wet feet, I don't know if any of you hike, but wet feet suck. So like, in terms of discomfort, like any other form of discomfort, like wet feet sort of trumped any other discomfort that we were kind of feeling out there.
And what's most fun of filming this movie?
The improv.
The improv.
Playing with each other.
Yeah.
Like that we all got to just, if we wanted to do a scene, we're like, hey, what if we do a scene like this? And we're like, yeah, let's do it. And then we would just turn the cameras on and do the scene. So we shot a lot of stuff that wasn't in our notes. And like we would just kind of like prod each other until we kind of got some good juicy conflict going and kept the cameras rolling, and a lot of that stuff is what made it into the movie. Originally we were only supposed to be like about 20% of the film in total. It was supposed to be more like there was a thing on the Sci-Fi Network that was kind of a promo for Blair Witch. I forget what it was called now, but it was partly like interviews and then partly our footage, but it was mostly interviews, and that's actually what the movie was supposed to be when we signed up for it.
Townspeople, like in the beginning.
Townspeople, our parents, like it was more like investigating the missing kids, but then when they started to look at it, they were like, well, our footage ended up being more compelling instead of like disrupting our footage constantly. Do you know what I mean? With the investigation portion of it. So it ended up being all our footage.
Well, that's very effective. And how is shooting that memorable scene of you crying into your camera?
Oh, I knew I nailed that.
Oh yeah, you did.
I was like,
Yeah, you did.
snap.
How did
I was
you-
like, ain't nobody seen boogers like that before in a movie. Can't wait to see that shit on the big screen. Hello, Sundance.
How did you emotionally prepare for that?
Well, it was just kind of naturally coming out. It was like they had taken us out of Seneca Creek State Park and put us in a car and drove us to the state park where the house was, because it was a totally different place. And so they're like, don't talk to each other, don't break character, don't like, okay, we're just gonna just be quiet, just stay in it. So like they dropped us off and they already had the tent and everything set up. And my note was just like, yeah, basically you're fucked. And so they're like, make a scene about how fucked you are. And so I was just like, okay. I was like, well, obviously this would be like, Because I was a brand new actress. I was like, oh, I'm gonna really want something for my reel. And I was like, this scene I think could be the one for my reel. So I just went into the bushes. Mike was still in the tent, and I was just like, yeah, not only am I fucked, I've fucked everybody else with how stupid I was. I was like, this is entirely my fault, and all these people are gonna suffer from my dumbass ambition. And so I was able, I actually based it on an independent filmmaker that I'd worked with the year before, that I met my boyfriend on this set because I took him to the emergency room after he was the DP and he passed out on the tripod because it was so hot and we never broke for food or water or anything. Like, she just kept driving forward. And I was like, that is this woman. Who is not gonna put the camera down when shit gets this crazy? Like, any normal, sane, regular person is gonna be like, we're not filming anymore, let's just like...
Get out of here, figure out how to get out of here.
Yeah, like there's no more point in doing this, you know?
Yeah, and last question before I turn it over to the lovely people. As I said, I was of an appropriate age to see it when it was new and remember everything about the release and the controversy and that this really happened and did it in the website and did it really happen? How was all that?
Well, that was challenging because, you know, when you're a young actress and this thing that you did turned out well, but you're now not an actress, so you're not really, and you're actually dead, and everybody's saying, well, you didn't really do anything, like we just kind of put you out there and we made all this happen. And for many, many years it was like, oh, it's just the marketing, but, you know, to my credit, I am here 25 years later and we're still talking about it, so that can't just be the marketing.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, it wasn't. And it's the fans who love the Blair Witch lore. Also, they made sequels, remakes.
It didn't actually spawn new ideas.
No.
It spawned the desire to make more money off the one that made a lot of money initially.
Yeah.
I think there's a pretty important difference.
There was one of the sequels, which I don't remember.
The 2016 one was pretty good. That had some really good jump scares.
That was the one I liked.
And good body horror too.
I was going to say the effects in that one.
They were.
And the story,
I thought that was solid.
And the storyline was really good on that one too. And it captured the feel of yours. It was cleaner, of course, because it wasn't like handheld, but it captured the feel of the panic and the fear of being lost.
And I love some good jump scares and body horror.
And the whole Scooby-Dooing of it, you know, like I love the, you know,
bringing in more.
You were a part of it, like your character was a part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I love it when we get to like go back into the past in a movie and find out more about.
I mean, for me personally, I don't love that they would keep using my name.
Well, that's
do you know what I mean? So for me, I just have a different perspective on that a little bit. Like,
I didn't like it in the other ones either. Like, that was like dumb.
Yeah.
But then that one didn't make sense though. You're telling me they didn't pay you for that?
no.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
Sorry.
certainly not without my vigorous application of energy.
Did you win?
Yes.
So
in
there
the
you
end.
go. But you had to fight.
Vigorous applications of energy.
You had to fight for it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I've had to fight for anything with this. That's definitely been a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything of any of that stuff is like more stuff just for fodder, for change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Evolution.
Any audience questions? Way back.
You.
You mentioned the notes. Like, what was the structure of your day on set? Like, how did it work? Was it a full outline, or were the notes coming?
No, we each had a little canister with our own initials on it. And so when we got to the milk crate with a bicycle flag in it, we would open our particular canister, and there would be a note just for us that we wouldn't show to each other. So we would have one objective, and the other character would have like a conflicting objective, and then we would shoot it.
And was there much direction beyond that, or was it just, okay.
No, just here's your waypoints in the GPS. Keep rolling all the time, and then when you get to this waypoint, there'll be like some food, there'll be the tent set up, and there'll be, you know, these notes for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When the movie debuted at Sundance, you know, the cast was listed as deceased.
Right.
How long was it before you guys were able to resurface or be photographed in public?
When the box office numbers went down. Yeah.
How long was that?
That was probably about 3 months, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was a long time.
Yeah, and it was weird because we did actually a lot of publicity at Sundance, but that narrative was very helpful for the film, obviously.
Did you have ideas for how the ending could have, or how the movie could have ended?
There were, they actually did some reshoots because I think artists and the company that owned it at the time, like they were like, this is too ambiguous. So they apparently did some where they shot Mike like kind of like in a Jesus position, crucified in a corner, and they did all kinds of different things that they hoped would make more sense. But then ultimately they just went back and shot a little clarification interview with a guy that talked about, oh yeah, the witch made him stand in the corner while she eviscerated the other kids. And so that ultimately kind of helped make the original just all fit together. But if you miss that interview, it's still like, wait, what was that?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, since it was very loose how y'all filmed, that's sort of a two-pronged question. Were there ever sequences y'all shot and you're like, y'all decided as a group, can we do this again?
Yeah,
Or
the three of us actors would just be like, that didn't feel good. Let's try that again, or let's do it over here, or let's give it a couple minutes and come back to it, or you know?
Was there ever, like, the directors, if they ever looked at the footage, would they be like, oh, that's good, can you guys do this again? Was there anything like that?
There's one sequence that's also shot on the film camera, the black and white film, where we're running through the woods, and like I see something in the woods, and I say, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? That running through the woods, we had to shoot several times because the Arrowflex 60mm camera kept losing registration. So we had to do that maybe like 8 or 9 times that night. And that was one of those moments where we're like, oh my God, it's like 3:30 in the morning. Can't we just do this when it gets dark like tomorrow? You know, but we kept going with it. And so I think you probably see take 7 or 8 in the movie. I don't even know. But other than that, it was really just, everything was just a water, and we just.
So you guys that were obviously filming yourselves with cameras, did they ever come and like do a drop, like a collective film?
Yeah, we would drop things off in the milk crate that we
Oh,
would
nice.
pick up. We pick up our nose, we drop off our batteries to be recharged, we drop off the film, they were cassettes at the time. And yeah, and then we would get fresh ones, fresh with everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was kind of like the pre-production process for you? Did you work with the directors a little bit to create your characters? They kind of like just left that to you?
They kind of left that to us, and I wrote the intro, there's like a scene in the cemetery where I'm like introducing the film, so they had me write that and start writing the journal, and they gave us some film classes, so we all learned how to work the film camera and the DAT recorder and all the different people. We had like a film boot camp, basically, but then the characters were really sort of up to us to evolve. They gave us like things for like the Blair County Squash Festival and like other things to sort of flesh out the world of Blair County in a way.
How did it affect you in real life, having to be dead for a little bit, and then also that being your real name?
Using my real name is my biggest regret with this whole thing, by far. It was really challenging to be 24 and to lose that vital part of your identity, especially when your identity is kind of still forming. So that's something that was really not necessary, and definitely something I wish I hadn't done, for sure. I wish I had a lawyer look at the contract. That would have been A1. There were a lot of things that were really challenging about it because it became so indelible. Like there was no separation between me and the character. Like nobody could really discern that, and all of the marketing and like was doubling down on like, yeah, no, these kids aren't even actors. Like this is not a thing. Like we were dead on IMDb. My mom got sympathy cards. It was very challenging. It felt like a very ornate punishment for a job well done. Do you know what I mean? Because it was just like, thank you so much for your efforts. Now, fuck off and die. Like it was.
You gotta go into hiding now because you're dead.
Right. So that was definitely felt like, oh wait, but I thought we did good. And it was just very confusing at that age, with like my level of just desire to live this dream. It took a while to like figure out that it wasn't gonna work out, and that I was gonna have a whole other life. And for me, it turns out like every decade of my life has been a whole different life. And that's been the best thing that could have happened to me. Like, it was amazing to know what fame felt like so that I could let go of that dream and really open myself up to the whole world. I was so single-minded when I was like 21, 22, like, this is what I wanted, this is all I wanted.
So you were like her, like
Right, exactly. Like I knew, I was so clear. I had that clarity that you can only have before you don't know shit about life. You know? and kind of like being disabused of that notion of certainty was a great gift. But it took a while to figure that out, you know, because it was just really disappointing at first.
I know the paranormal activity people had a similar experience because they also used their real names, and I interviewed them. And they're like, maybe we shouldn't have used our real names.
She could have called me.
Yeah.
I would have talked to her.
Yeah.
I actually remember Ari, is that his name? Vic directed it. He came to the 10th anniversary screening of Blair Witch, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to do a similar thing." And I was like, "Well, I hope you treat your actors better."
They seemed very happy with the process.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, the process is
You know,
fun.
they were-
Exactly.
yeah.
But you are definitely making a product, and to be aware. I think when you're a young artist, you're not aware of, and I wasn't really aware of like the business side of it and how essential that is, because that is going to definitely play out to like how much of an artist are you going to be able to be in a marketplace, you know?
Yeah. After the initial shock of Paranormal wore off and they started creating sequels, the female, at least Katie, she was in pretty much all of them. And like new footage, not using her old shit, you know?
Yeah.
So luckily she continued to make
Right,
a career
and
off that.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
I suppose that he did listen to your advice.
Right, and having the actors be union, so that there are some basic protections, and so that there are residuals, for example, and just like things that would be fair when you're creating something that's making so much money.
So the months leading up to it, you know, the whole world's trying to figure out if you guys are alive or dead, you know, and we all believe that this is true. What kind of precautions did Artisan put in place towards you so that you would not show up on the dial-up internet?
Well, the internet, it was not like, you know, nobody had a Facebook account or an Insta at
Right.
that time. You know, like, I mean, if we had built a web page, we would have shown up. But there, you couldn't like just show up on the internet like you can now. Do you know what I mean? There were a lot more barriers to entry. You had to kind of know HTML. like,
But I mean, did they put you in like kind of witness protection kind of thing, or?
no, they just made sure to blackball us everywhere. Like you couldn't hire a publicist and have them book you on something because Artisan was cutting them off at the knees. So it was just simply not possible to book anything.
Could you, like, do they ban you from like showing up to diners to talk to people, or anything?
What's that?
They ban you like from showing up to places and talking to people?
Like you couldn't go out to eat, or
Well, no, I could go out to eat.
Yeah.
I mean,
did people ever say, "But you're dead"?
yeah, all the
Right.
time.
All the time.
All the time. All the time. That was like my 1999.
You're like,
And Alexis was like, "That movie sucked, give me my money back." And I was like, "I'm sorry, I don't have any of the money." Like, you know, oh yeah. I was like, I can send you this website, you can send them an email. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, the money is not on me. Well, and I think it was such an interesting experience because it was so, like, I realized like how depersonalized it can be. That's why I kind of enjoy these, because it is like, there's a human being there. It's not just like a vague, you know, figure, you know, or a cardboard cutout. Like, there's a person behind all of these characters and things.
there is, and we all love you. You know, it's like we show up to see people like you.
And it's so, and this is like what's real. Like that, this
Yeah.
is what, like the lasting beauty of it, like is hearing people's stories of like, here's what this movie meant to me, here's where I was when I saw it, here's like the trick my brother played on me after we saw it. Like, I love, like those things make it so worth it, and like, it just feels so good to hear about how people carry this movie after 25 years. It's really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any concept art for The Witch?
No, not that I saw. Yeah.
I've always wanted to like know what it looked like, and then when I watched it for the first time last year, I was like, oh no, it's not
there. Okay, so
Yeah.
guess we'll never know.
Well, I think for a lot of people, it was the not seeing it and just having like this sense of the dark and the woods and that kind of primal fear
Yeah.
is sort of what worked. You know, I think in the 2016, I think they might have shown some bit
I think
bit
so.
of witch, yeah.
What were your shooting days like? Did the directors ever stay with you at all, or did they kind of just set you in the boonies? Did it keep you out there in like the weather to kind of drag you guys down a little bit?
Yeah, we were in Seneca Creek State Park 24/7 until the day that we were like, no, we're done. And again, like they would just leave the notes in the little canisters in the milk crates, and we would find them and drop them off. But that was really the only contact we had until the night that we kept reshooting the "What the fuck is that" thing. Like that was that night they came out to be able to make sure that we really got it. That the film camera was actually functioning properly.
So I'd heard it at one time that like, unbeknownst to you guys, that the directors would go out in the woods and like do stuff to mess with y'all that y'all didn't know about, that elicit like real fear. Like the scene with the tent was shaking, was that them
Yeah.
shaking the tent?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did they do things to like to mess with you guys that y'all didn't know about to get like?
Well, we knew it was them when we were doing it. Like I mean, I didn't think it was like a witch
Right.
shaking the tent. I mean, like, so yes, they would come out and at a certain point it was like, oh man, like, do we really have to do it this way? Because it was like, I mean, we know who it is, you know, like, and Dan's like, oh, it's like 2 o'clock and we just fell asleep, like, we just fell asleep, and then you got the boom box with the kids being like, and you're like, God. So you have to get up and you're like, all right, we're gonna do it, let's do it. So, I mean, that's what kind of made it fun, you know, like, that was the great part of it, like, that was the experience that I think all 3 of us actors were just like, we're never going to get to make a movie like this again. Like, this is the most fun you could ever have. Like, when making a movie do you get to be like, you know what? How did you guys feel about that? Let's do it again. Just like us deciding together. It was just awesome. It was really awesome. Yeah.
At any point during this movie, you know, sometimes you work on projects and you kind of know it's special.
Yeah.
Did you know that this was gonna blow up and become a big thing, or did you think it was gonna just die and shrink to DVD?
I mean, I thought we would be lucky if we got into Sundance, and that would be really awesome if we got into Sundance. I think we, like I'm saying, like the process of making it was so unique and was so fun that I felt like we had done something pretty cool. I didn't know if it would all hang together, and at that time when we finished it, we still thought we were only gonna be like 10%, 20% of the final product, so we were just gonna be a small portion. I mean, I knew the confessional was gonna work no matter where they put it. Like, I was like, oh, we got it there. But like, it was just really hard. It was impossible to know. We definitely didn't think it was gonna be like like a blockbuster. Like, that was definitely not on the table. But like, it getting into Sundance and doing maybe like $5 million, that felt like that would have been the dream come true for me.
Is there anything that y'all filmed that you wish would have made it into the movie?
Honestly, I don't remember anything that didn't make it in. I mean, we were just shooting all day. So it was just like, God, if you just like went through your day, you'd be like, oh, that time when you ate that Snickers bar, like, do you wish, like there was just, everything was so heightened while we were out there, and because we were so conscious of like, okay, this could be a scene. And I think we kind of like took our shots a little too early again because we thought we were only going to be 20% of it. So we really like amped it up so that the scenes would all be pretty big. So like, I don't even know like what they have to like be like the level stuff. That's why I think the stuff in the beginning is so important. That's why my favorite line in the movie is marshmallows. When we're in the supermarket doing that shop, like that's so touching because you're actually just like getting to know these people before shit gets crazy. And we kind of thought that stuff would never make it in because like we were just going to be such a small portion of it. But those things are actually my favorite scenes in it. Like, oh, I fucking hate scotch, and like when we're just like hanging out and being college kids.
Those
you
are
know?
my favorite parts as well.
Yeah.
The whole, I don't know, until you go into the woods, your shopping, your interviews with the townspeople,
Yeah.
all that stuff before you actually venture in. My favorite part And then my next favorite part is the climax in the house.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
But I love that getting to know you part.
I do too, because there's so much comedy in that part, and like I actually sort of forgot how funny and sweet that was.
And it
until I
felt
saw
real.
it.
It felt like a
Yeah.
real conversation. You were just
Yeah.
out with your buds.
Yeah.
All of it felt real. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I love
I thought those parts were very tender.
that. Yeah.
Talking about like the comedy aspect at the beginning, was there any like difficulty in swapping from comedy to like the horror genre with the improv? Because I feel like you guys are like the Winnie Forgotten of horror, I guess.
Yeah. that is awesome. No, I think you're always just playing the moment, right? And like some moments are kind of just being together, and then there are other moments where like, oh fuck, we're gonna die, you know, like, so you're obviously gonna just play those as they lay, you know, yeah.
Were there any moments during shooting where, like, where it's 3 o'clock in the morning or whatnot, where you were ready to call it, like, I'm done with this, like
Oh, the day it rained.
But any other?
The day it rained. No, that was. I mean, we were only out there for 8 days, so like that
That's
day.
a long time.
Well, we were in a state
That's
park.
true.
Like there were
Okay,
like
so for me, that's a long time to be outside.
I
like it.
pretty much live outside all the time now, so it's like,
Yeah.
I love being outside. So yeah, I don't that, but being wet,
Yeah.
ugh. Yeah, that sucks.
Do you feel like this movie and being like in the wilderness for 8 days have had an effect on like how you live your life now and your tie to like the wilderness, or?
Well, I think I actually wanted to be in this movie because I always kind of wanted to know wilderness skills and be where there's more people than trees. And that's just not the kind of place I grew up in at all. There were way more trees than people. And so it's just, yeah, very, very appealing to me on a lot of levels. And I don't think a lot of people that ended up going to that audition would have been afraid to be outside for that long, because they were very clear in the ad and backstage, like, you are going to be uncomfortable. We are going to subject you to Army survival techniques for 8 days. You are going to be like, we're going to take away your food rations. Would you like to audition for this? And I think that you were either the kind of person that was like, absolutely not, or like, yeah, this sounds amazing, like, which I was. So, 2,000 people were like, yeah, that sounds amazing, that actually showed up to audition for it.
Either one. We'll get you both. So whoever wants to go first.
So since you filmed it in a state park, was there ever like people walking
Yes,
by or people?
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, we were not out in the
Okay.
wilderness. Like,
I mean, did they come up to you and were like, what are you guys doing?
you shouldn't really be backpacking in this park. Like, it's a day-use only park. And it was, like, so that's why we couldn't have fires. You never see us with a campfire.
Yeah.
Because we weren't allowed to have fires because it's a day-use park. Like, so I think we had a fire one night, but it was like in a trash can lid. Like, so we had to like really contain it, and yeah.
Mine's not really about the movie, but since you spend a lot of time in the wilderness and outdoors, do you believe in any like cryptids or, the Appalachian Trail kind of tales and stuff? Or are you just more, you don't believe in anything like that?
I believe that everything is part of spirit.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So and I believe how you treat anything is how you are treated.
Yeah.
And how you do anything is how you do everything. And so in that sense, absolutely, yeah. I'm very tender with the land. I live on several acres and I'm very tender with that land, and I didn't even make my tiny house until I really had stayed there for 3 years to listen to that land. Like, where am I gonna put this house? So I lived in first a backpacking tent, then a yurt on the land, and gradually was like, okay, now I'm ready. So I just got the tiny house recently, actually. And it was just like a time of who else is here? The bears, the deer, the turkeys, the salamanders, the owls. Like, I wanted to know who else. Like, there's just one of me, and there's a lot more of all them. So
That's their home.
that's their home first. So I come in with respect. You know what I mean? So in terms of spirits and ciphers, yeah. I mean, I have so many barred owls who make that sound like hoo 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 hoo, and like they're around me every night, and I think of them as protectors actually, rather than a curse or a danger. Right, but the respect is mutual. Yeah.
Well, like a bad omen is really just a helpful warning. Something to say.
it's a helpful warning, and sometimes it's a rightful repair of disrespect.
Yeah. You don't have to answer this if it's too personal. But what region did you move to? Are you in California?
I live in Maine.
Maine, so Northeast.
Yeah, I think there was like 6 inches of snow while I've been gone.
Man, well, welcome to the South. I've never been to the Northeast woods, but I think they're beautiful.
I love
They're
it. I love
so
it.
pretty.
I love it.
Yeah, so like, from California. Pine needles, I've always been more attracted to the leafy trees over the pine
Yeah.
needles,
So I suppose you get a totally different view in the winter, so it's kind of cool.
Yes, but I do love snow, so that's why I moved to Chicago. So I got my city snow as opposed to my mountain snow.
I love snow.
And how long have you lived out there?
6 years.
And were you in California the whole time before that? Okay, wow, what a change.
I got sober, I moved to Maine, I changed every single thing about my life.
That's amazing. So, I'm only mentioning because you brought it up, your journey to sobriety.
Yeah.
How?
Best decision I ever made.
Definitely.
Not really a decision I made, certainly a decision that was made for me.
Yeah. So, how was that? That journey and the discovering
I
of
think
yourself
at
and
a
making
certain
it
point, every person, especially every addict, has to decide: do I want to live or do I want to die? And for me, I was like, you know what? I want to live, and so that was going to require a radical overhaul of everything I had been doing up to that point.
Well, no, I always say this.
If a person doesn't want to live, you can't make them
Yeah,
live.
it's so sad to watch on the outside.
For
It's
sure.
so sad to watch, but
But
it's
why
so,
are you still there watching?
I know it's
That's your business.
Had to go.
Do you know what I mean?
I had to
That
go,
why are
but
you
it's so
still there watching?
inspirational to see
Yeah.
people who have come out on the other side.
Yeah,
And because I know it's hard.
Well, it's hard until it's soft. Like, is there any other people in recovery in this room? It's like hard until it's soft, like until you stop fighting it and you're just like, okay, yeah, I'm fucking uncomfortable and I wish I had something that would make me stop feeling so uncomfortable, and you're like, wait, hang on. Okay, I'm not uncomfortable anymore. Wow, okay. If I just sit there and don't react and like allow that
Live in it.
discomfort, then it actually eventually changes like everything else. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, so if I get soft instead of forcing something, it all becomes a lot easier.
Thank you for sharing.
No problem. My pleasure. Yeah.
That's more interesting to me than anything we talked about.
To me, too, like it's so weird to like come to these things and recontextualize my life in terms of Blair Witch. Like people ask me for 25th anniversary, like, oh, you want to do this thing? And I was like, yeah, I don't like. It's so weird to have something you did for 8 days 25 years ago be something that people keep coming back to when there's like so much the rest of life. So it's like wonderful to be here, and also like, God, it's so foreign. It's so long ago and so foreign to me that it's kind of like you guys remember things about the movie way better than I do. So that there's always like that.
It's because we watched it over and over
Right,
again.
but there's a cool sense of rediscovery for me in that too, which I really enjoy, which is fun and keeps it fresh for me. So yeah.
Thank you so much for being so open and sharing that.
Oh, my pleasure.
And then, you never know, it might help someone struggling. So,
That's always my hope,
yeah.
because there's another way for anybody who wants it. Yeah.
All right, everyone, please do give it up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, all right. Crack. Yeah. Theo, come over here and take it for us. Marilyn.
Oh, really?